I'd like to welcome you to the session called Becoming a Champion Online Learner, and want to let you know that I'm new at these Zoom sessions and presenting workshops, just like a lot of you are new to the Zoom environment as well. So we'll work through this session together today. I want to introduce myself and another person who's in the session today who will be helping. My name is Sue Whorton. I'm director of the Academic Success Center here at Clemson. And then Tabitha Harvey is in the session with us today as well. And she's the office manager at the ASC, and she's going to help me with the chat session today to make sure we get your questions. I want to ask you to participate in the session today via the chat session. We have 45 people in the session, and when you get into larger sessions, it's a little more difficult to communicate verbally because people in unintended ways interrupt each other, and the communication becomes a little bit difficult. So let's stick to the chat session today. So what I'd like to do in the session today is talk with you about a couple things: strategies and mindsets for success in online courses. And I also want to share with you some resources that can support you in your success in online courses. And then I want to save some time at the end for questions. My goal for this workshop is that you'll leave with some strategies that can be useful to you and help you succeed in your classes this fall. So let's go ahead and start with the chat session and utilizing the chat session. So please go into the chat session right now and put your name and your major. Share with us one strategy you use to succeed in your courses in the spring or over the summer, whether that was high school or at another college or university. What'd you do to be successful in the online environment? And then share with us any of your fall courses for which you'd like to find a study group. So go ahead and put that in the chat session right now. Great, we have some animal and veterinary science majors, econ, electrical engineering, nursing, business, marketing, construction science, and management. Don't forget to put in the strategies that you utilized in the past and study groups that you'd like to form in a class. Time management, okay. Using a planner. Managing time, see the planner again, that's a big one. Planner, great. Time management. And I see some folks are interested in business calculus study groups, econ study groups, chemistry, calculus. Okay, taking detailed notes, to-do lists, this is great. Setting alarms for classes and homework stuff. Connecting with friends over FaceTime, great. So I see a lot of using a planner. I love this one that James K suggested. Hiding his phone during online classes so he wouldn't be on it. That is an excellent strategy, James, because being on your phone while in class, there's no way you can pay attention to what's happening in class. We can't give our attention to multiple things. Great strategy. Keeping a dedicated study space, great one. Watching YouTube videos for additional problems, another excellent strategy. We're going to save this chat session, and we're going to send the chat session to you so you can see the strategies that you all put out here for each other. And again, if you would make sure you're muted, that would be terrific. Thank you. Finding a spot in your house free from distractions. Good deal. So a lot of excellent strategies. Some of these are ones that I'm going to cover. I think I have some new ideas for you as well. Okay, so keep adding your thoughts in the chat session. Before we go to the strategies, I've been asked by a lot of new students about the different types of online courses. So I thought I'd just take a minute and share those with you. So when we think about our traditional in-person classes, we go to class, we hear the information that's presented by the professor in class, we work in small groups in class. Sometimes we're asked to go on our computer to go to various sites in class, but we're all there all at the same time together. Synchronous online classes work exactly the same way, except we're online. So you're going to have a specific course meeting time, a specific course day, and you're going to meet, instead of in person physically, you're going to meet via a video conferencing tool that your professor will be using. For most professors, it's probably going to be Zoom. Some like to use WebEx. Others may use different video conferencing tools. And you're going to want to make sure that you research those tools and you make yourself aware of how those tools work and function and the features of those tools. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a little while. The interaction in class, in the synchronous classes, is via the chat session, the live chat session, where you can talk just like you text. And if a class is small enough, sometimes the professor will ask for students to verbally communicate in class too. It's a little bit more challenging in larger classes. So if you're in a larger class, the professor's probably mostly going to rely on the live chat session. Asynchronous sessions means that there is not a specific class meeting time or day for your classes. So for those of you that are new students, I know we have had some graduate students and continuing students in the session. The example for an asynchronous class would be CU 1000. There isn't a class meeting time or day for it. You're going to be able to complete your course assignments at your own pace, and you'll need to meet established deadlines that will be laid out in the course for you. Your asynchronous courses will be in Canvas. Most of the courses will open up tomorrow if they haven't already. So by tomorrow morning, you should be able to see all of your classes in Canvas for the courses for which you're registered this semester. Some professors will choose to use an asynchronous discussion board, meaning you can go in and comment on the discussion board whenever you're working on your class. It's key for asynchronous classes to be very organized, very detailed, to create a routine for yourself to make sure that you're engaging with that class and you're staying on top of deadlines and material for that class. So those are the differences between the two online types of courses. And you should be able to see the type of course that you're enrolled in iRoar. If you go look at your class schedule, it should say in iRoar what type of class it is, whether it's asynchronous or whether it's synchronous online. So you can access that information. Okay, let's go to the strategies and the keys to success for online learning. And when you think about online learning, there's really 4 components that I would invite you to think about for succeeding in your courses. The first is interacting with your professors and your classmates. The second part is knowing the technology, becoming familiar with it. Parts 3 and 4 really apply to your online classes or to an in-person class. And it's engaging in study strategies and learning strategies that we know work and utilizing personal success strategies. So those are things like keeping a routine, utilizing a planner, reducing distractions. We're going to talk more about those in just a few minutes. So let's start with interacting with your professor and your classmates. So one of the challenges with online learning is that we're used to meeting in person. We're used to going to class, to the same classroom, oftentimes sitting next to the same people. We get to know our classmates. And that's one of the things that we really like about in-person classes is you get to be around other people. You get to talk to them. You get to know them. You form study groups with them. Some of you take the time to get to know your professors too and go in and talk with them before class and after class. We're social creatures. That's the way we work. Unfortunately, the pandemic has presented us with a situation where for everybody's safety, we need to go online first. And so I want to talk with you about ways that you can authentically still collaborate and connect with your classmates and your professor. The first strategy that I want to invite you to think about is turning your video on in class. This can help you feel more of a sense of connection with your other classmates, and it can help you feel more of a sense of connection with your professor. The same will hold true for your classmates and your professor. They're going to want to see you. They're going to want to connect and collaborate with you as closely as possible. I recognize there may be times when you can't turn on your video, or you might not be comfortable turning on your video, and that's okay. It's not a must do, but it can help some students feel more connected in class. I want to invite you to actively engage in in-class chat sessions and discussions. It will help you get to know your other classmates. It will help you engage with the class material because you're actively reflecting to and responding to what your classmates have to say. And so it's an opportunity for you to kind of get to know your classmates a little bit better. I also, if you're in an asynchronous class, I also recommend that you actively and authentically engage in the discussion boards. This will also present an opportunity for you to kind of get to see the perspectives of your other classmates. I want to invite you to utilize the CU Navigate Study Buddy feature. You can access CU Navigate from your desktop by just going to the Clemson homepage and typing in CU Navigate in the search bar, or you can download the CU Navigate app to your phone. And for those of you that are in CU 1000, there's instructions for downloading the CU Navigate app if you have not already done so in CU 1000. And there's more information about the Study Buddies feature. But what that does is it allows you to see all of the other students in your classes, and it lets you reach out to those students to say, hey, anybody interested in forming a study group for this class? I want to invite you to set the goal of sending an email to one student in every one of your classes to introduce yourself and ask if they'd be interested in connecting outside of class to study and to get to know them. You can have a socially distanced meeting in person. You can connect with them via Google Meet or some other opportunity, some other tool like FaceTime to connect with students virtually. Another way you can interact with your classmates is through PAL and tutoring sessions. They'll be offered via Zoom. You can find them on the ASC website, and that's an opportunity to connect with students who are in the same class you are, and to connect with an undergraduate student who's succeeded in the class and genuinely wants to help you be successful in the class. So it's more opportunity for interactions with other people, which is what a lot of us are missing with the online courses. So taking advantage of doing all these things can really help you feel an authentic sense of connection to your classmates. It's not the same as in person in a physical classroom, but it's an opportunity to still connect and interact. Would you please take a minute and just put in the chat session which strategy resonates most with you? Which one do you think you would be willing to try? Go ahead and put that in the chat session. Okay, connecting with study buddies, good. It will be great to find another student to study with. There's a lot of benefits for learning when you collaborate with other students. Actively engaging in class, going to PAL sessions. This is great. So I want to invite all of you to think about doing this, trying these strategies and seeing which ones really work for you and which really resonate with you. Okay, let's go to the next part, part 2, technology. So for some students, that's really the area that they're concerned most about. And so I want to invite you to think about these strategies and to engage with them. So make sure your computer and your internet is in good working order. And I know for a lot of us, myself included, internet can be unstable at times. It depends on how many people in the household are using the internet at one time, the strength of your internet. So there's so much that goes into play with internet. And just know that your professors know that internet can be an issue for you, and know that CCIT has internet hotspots that can be sent to students who are in locations where we know from the university's perspective that internet is not great. So there are regions in the state where the internet connection is not as good as it could be. And so be sure to reach out for help if you're in that situation where the internet is not working the way you need it to engage in class. I want to invite you to start Googling how to use Zoom, how to use WebEx. Those are probably the 2 top video conferencing tools that your professors will use. Avail yourself of the training for Canvas, which is Clemson's learning management system, and how you can access the tools in Canvas, how you can look up your grades, how you can look up assignments, how you can submit assignments, making sure that you're staying on track in the course. Most of your professors are going to use Canvas to put the assignments in, and especially for asynchronous classes. Check out the iWar training for how to look up your class schedule, how to register for additional classes, how to drop classes if you need to drop classes. Go on Google and look up how to use Google Meet or other tools that will allow you to collaborate with other students. Again, FaceTime is another option. CCIT has a ton of software that you can download from their website. So check out the website to take a look at the software that you might need for your classes, and your professors will let you know about that. And again, you can download most of the software from CCIT. The other thing that I would say is Microsoft Office you can download from CCIT's website as well. So we're going to talk about resources in a little bit, so we'll come back to that idea. CCIT storage options, so storing your paper, storing videos, storing your PowerPoints, any projects that you've created so that they're in the cloud, you don't lose them. If your computer crashes, there's multiple ways that you can store your work. And then the last thing that I want to say is if you're having struggles with the technology, reach out to CCIT as soon as you're having struggles. The help desk staff is fabulous. They want to help you. They know that this is a new environment for everyone. They know that it can be a stressful environment, and they can suggest to you resources and tools that can help you. And again, I want to mention this again, the hotspots. Please don't let internet access be something that prevents you from engaging in your classes. So take a second and put in the chat session what concerns you most about the technology piece. Okay, internet connections. Yeah. That's a theme that's emerging so far. Miscommunication on how to access certain items. So it's going to be really important for you to establish communication with your professor and to be reading everything that your professor sends you so that you have the information. Okay, so internet connections, sometimes it's the actual connection. A hotspot can help. If you have a smartphone, you might try using your own hotspot capability, contacting CCIT. It might be having a conversation with your family or your roommates about dedicated times that you can be on the internet, and asking them to work with you on that so that there's more bandwidth for you to be able to connect to your classes, and you working with them about being off the internet. So kind of scheduling who's on the internet at what times can be a really helpful strategy to engage in. Okay, we're going to come back to the technology resources in a minute. I want to make sure we get to all the strategies and information today. Okay, so part 3 is about learning and study strategies. Like I said earlier, these are strategies that you can use in in-person or online courses. And so I have 7 strategies that I want to invite you to think about, and think about which ones would be most helpful to you as a learner. The fancy name for them is on the left, and then a little explanation is on the right. So let's start with elaboration. Elaboration is basically being able to explain and describe course concepts with many details. It's about being able to explain the course material to somebody else, to give a 5-minute mini lecture to somebody else. It's about being able to describe the course concepts in a way that that somebody else would be able to understand them. Somebody else would think, wow, they know the material. And for you to say, wow, I know the material. The nice thing about elaboration, if you practice it, is you will quickly be able to identify the parts of the course material you know well, and the parts of the course material that you still need to maybe spend some more time on and fill in the gaps. Because if you're not really able to clearly explain it to yourself or somebody else, that's a good signal that you might need to focus on that part of the course material or those concepts a little bit more. Dual coding is the idea of using words and visuals to describe course concepts. So it might be that you put your course material into notes, you write out the concepts, you summarize the reading in your own words, but maybe you also summarize the reading in a picture that that illustrates the relationship between ideas, or illustrates how a process works. Step 1, step 2, step 3, that you draw that out. You can draw sequences out. You can draw relationships out. And that can oftentimes help students really understand the material. Another strategy you can try is something called the hierarchy. And a hierarchy takes the general concept and then breaks it down into specifics, ideas. And then it breaks it down again into more specific concepts or ideas. So you go from the general to the specific. You draw that out, write that out. So I would suggest to you that combining words and visuals can really help you remember and help you understand course material. Some terms that you could Google would be concept map, hierarchy, matrix. You could Google visual representation of concepts. Concrete examples are using specific examples to describe abstract concepts. So for example, I just explained what elaboration was, and then I provided you with some examples that you could try teaching the concepts to somebody else, that you could create a mini 5-minute lecture. Those are examples of engaging in elaboration. Interleaving is the idea of switching between ideas when studying. So let's say you have a test coming up for your chemistry class, and it's going to be on chapters 1 through 3. Maybe one study session, you go progressively from chapter 1 concepts to 2 to chapter 3. In the next study session, maybe you go from chapter 2 back to chapter 1 and then ahead to chapter 3. In another session, you might go from chapter 2 to chapter 1 and then to 3, where you mix it up. The idea is that if you start in chapter 3 and then look at those course concepts, it allows you to reflect back when you go to chapter 1 and apply what you know from chapter 3 to chapter 1. It gives you context. It kind of situates the material for you in various places and helps you connect how the concepts are related or how a sequence works. It can be a very effective strategy. The research on learning shows interleaving is one of the key things you can do. Mixing up the chapters, mixing up your notes, going from the end of your notes backwards to the front of your notes. That can be a really great strategy. Retrieval is basically about memory. It's about spending some time bringing course concepts to mind. So we could take a history class and we could take a historical event that occurred. So we could take, let me think of a concept that we could take. We could take a particular election that occurred, and we could talk about what the effects of that election were on the economy. We could talk about what the effects of the election were on regions of the country. We could talk about the effects of the election on how it impacted the various parties and what happened in those parties after the election. Retrieval is about thinking about those were the things talked about in class and remembering what was talked about in class and what were the implications of that election economically, politically, regionally. And it's just working to remember and thinking through those things to make sure that you're committing that to your long-term memory. Space practice is about studying over a period of time. It's not studying for 3 hours at one time, but rather doing 6 1/2-hour sessions instead. And the 6 1/2-hour sessions allow you oftentimes to focus much better. And then you take a brain, and your brain needs a break. It's kind of like weightlifters. They're going to do their reps, and then they're going to take a break. And then they're going to do another set of reps, and they're going to take a break and do another set of reps. The same thing holds true with space practice. It's oftentimes a lot easier to focus on a deeper level for 30 minutes than 2 hours at a time. So think about spaced practice and how you can do spaced practice. The last thing I would say with working problems is if you're in math, if you're in chemistry, if you're in accounting, if you're in economics, statistics, it's going to be very important that you work out practice problems, that you take the examples that your professor provides to you and you practice those problems and you think through what the sequences are, what the calculations are, what's happening as you're working out those problems. Sometimes it can help to write out, going back to dual coding, it can help to write out the steps of calculations in your own words. So thinking through those strategies that I've just shared, which one of those strategies sounds most helpful to you? Go ahead and put that in the chat session. Good, spaced practice. Spaced practice is going to be a really helpful strategy. Elaboration, see some elaborations there, interleaving. The dual coding can be very powerful, putting it in words and drawing a picture. And if you are stuck with something, try drawing a picture. That is a great starting point, drawing a picture of the concept that you're grappling with. Okay, terrific. Let's talk about the last set of strategies that I want to encourage you to think about and invite you to engage in. Those are kind of what I would call personal success strategies. They're things like organization, they're things about routine, they're about structure, they're about your mindset, they're about effort. And so the first thing, if you don't remember anything else that I shared today, I would encourage you to engage in positive self-talk. Remind yourself about how hard you're trying. Remind yourself that you're giving your best effort. Remind yourself that you've got this, that you're capable of succeeding in online courses. It's basically about coaching yourself. It's about what you would say to a good friend who comes to you and says, hey, I'm struggling. And you would tell your friend, you've got this, you've done that, you're working as hard as you can do this. You'd be encouraging. Use that same practice on yourself. Talk positively to yourself. It's real easy to go to negativity and start to question ourselves. Work to become somebody who's positive and sees obstacles as opportunities for growth and learning. I would encourage you to reduce and manage distractions. So I said that a few minutes ago. If you can negotiate with members of your family, your roommates, about times where you can focus on your class and attend class for synchronous classes, and trying to reduce as many distractions as you can. It's a great idea to turn your phone off or not have your phone be with you next to your computer during class, or get an app that turns your phone off when you need to go to class. That will help you stay focused in class and to be an active participant in class. I would encourage you to create a routine and stick to it. I saw that in the beginning of the chat session. It looks like many of you used a planner, carved out times for yourself. A routine is going to help you with the structure that you need for online courses, especially for the asynchronous courses. Treat your synchronous courses as if you're going to class in person at the time that you usually go in a classroom. It's the same exact thing, it's just going to be online. So the structure from routine can help you be successful. I want to encourage all of you to log into Canvas every day to check on every course. Professors will put announcements in Canvas. You'll want to make sure that you're up on everything your professor has shared for the course. Check your email frequently. I would advise checking your email once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and once at night. You don't want to miss important messages from your professors. Give your best effort. I know this is a different time for all of us, and it can be challenging, but do your best. That's all that you can do. And I think if you're giving your best, the results that you get are going to be in line with what you want to see happen. If you don't give your best, then then there'll be opportunities for improvement if you don't get the results that you're looking for. You can always up your effort. Make good use of your time. Don't let the days go by without being productive. So structure your time, plan out when you're going to work on your homework. When are you going to work on the project? When are you going to connect with study partners? I want to encourage you to utilize your resources, and we're going to talk about that in our next slide. So look at that list there. Which strategy will you commit to? And go ahead and put that in the chat session. Routine, logging into Canvas every day. That's fantastic. Reducing distractions, really important. Creating a routine, great. So you know what you need to do to make yourself, create the conditions for yourself to be successful. That's really what positive success strategies are about. So I want to encourage you to utilize resources that can help you be successful. And there are people and departments when we think about the resources. For the people, your professor or your TA, they should let you know on the syllabus when their office hours are and when they're available to assist you. So reach out to your professor or TA. They want to help you. They can't help you or provide guidance unless you go to them and let them know that you need it. The other resource person for you is your academic advisor. And what I would say about your academic advisor is there's somebody who's a good all-around resource who knows a lot about learning and success resources. They can be a connector for you too. They can get you connected with the people and the resources that can be useful and helpful to you. You can find your academic advisor in iRoar. Log into iRoar and go to the Degree Works tab. And in the Degree Works tab, you'll find who your assigned academic advisor is. And then you can look that person up in the phone book to find their email address and their phone number. Departments are another resource, and there's 3 key ones here that I want to invite you to check out more. And so if technology is something that you want to engage with more and learn more about, I'd like you to go right now to that website. If the Academic Success Center and learning about PAL and tutoring and our academic coaching program that would allow you to interact with other students or an academic coach to learn more about learning strategies or personal success strategies, check out the Academic Success Center site. And then for Cooper Library, there are a lot of free books that you can take advantage of and supplemental materials that are available through the library. And so if you're interested in that, go to that URL right now. I want you to take just the next few minutes to go to one of those URLs and look at the information that's provided there and check out the resources. While you're looking at those resources, if there are questions that you have, if you want to just jump over to the chat session real quickly to put those questions in, please feel free to do that. Tabitha will help me with the chat session and any questions that you might want to put in there to to ask that could benefit the whole group as well.